fantastic. Grand rising to everybody out there. We're always learning, and this is Coffee Diaries number
11 or 10? I forget.
Number 11. And today is quite a big day. It's the launch of a new site only for the Coffee Diary. So thank you very much for all of those who've supported. Thank you very much for Ade's initial cup of coffee months ago, which started this conversation. Thank you very much for all of those who've been on the show before. And thank you, and Grand Rising Siraaj.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
No, this has been a long time coming, so it's good to be here. And I've listened to a few of your shows, and yeah, to be able to just dive in deep into conversation with two other souls who are on the journey, I'm here for it. Let's do it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. As Ron says often, we're still learning. So
every single day.
So, Siraaj, how do you deal with thoughts?
Okay, we're just all right. How do you deal with thoughts?
Because I have a noisy mind sometimes, and I don't know. I just, all of these old thoughts come up, and they sometimes trigger me. And like, what do you do when? I don't know.
I'm actually going to take that question, and there's a poem that I actually want to open up with. It's from a sister warrior who is unfortunately not here on this plane anymore, but her words are potent. And yeah, I just want to open up with this, and then we can kind of dive from there. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, I left behind the patriarchal pace and said, here's the new race. How slow can you go? Here's the new definition of success. How relaxed can you be? How much more can you the test of stress? How sensually from the armor can you unpeel? How luscious and life can you feel? And yeah, my name is Michelle Grambo, and she left us those words.
So you broke up a little bit, so I didn't.
I know.
Yeah, we didn't catch. Yeah, we didn't catch a lot of it.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to have to repeat, but I think just the essence is how relaxed, how in your body, how in the moment can you be? And so when you ask me about thoughts, I mean, this is like the typical Buddhist, medicine for that. It's like, oh, you just notice them and you say, oh, hey, there's a thought and cloud. But even more than that, I think for me, it might be a little bit of the mind over matter aspect. The thoughts do I get to control that, to a certain extent, I get to control that. And I choose to kind of direct the things that pop up in my mind, the pop-ups, the spam blockers and the pop-ups on the old internet. The ones that I choose are, oh my God, look at that cloud. Oh, whoa, that's a good cloud. Or, oh my God, the soil. Or, oh my gosh, look at that bird, driving, just what are they breathing? So the thoughts that I choose are thoughts that enrich and enliven me, as opposed to oh my God, what was on the grocery list? I forgot. Oh my goodness, I need gas. All these things, And when the time comes for those other things, it's time for them. But yeah, I get to choose my thoughts. I get to choose my world and my reality. So,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think sometimes it's so easy for some of us. I mean, I'll speak for myself to put more to feel like the quote unquote negative thoughts are more real for some reason, and to think of something positive feels like I'm making it up, and it's not as valid. I know this is not true, but I think that's one of the things that people struggle with. And it also seems like the brain looks for problems, kind of looks for uncertainty and looks for, well, what's coming next, or how am I going to get my needs met, or these sort of things.
Do that, and I think the brain does. I mean, the brain wants to problem solve. Like, that's its function. I'm always telling people, like, there's this war going on between like heart and mind, and I try to tell people all the time, like, your brain, it has a function, but it's not what you think it is. Like, it's not really running the show. It's your heart. So what thoughts are coming out of there? And yeah, how can you build a world around those thoughts, not this problem solving? Your brain is processing the environment around us. You know what I mean? Like, all your senses, they go here and you figure out how to survive. So yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, in this new world that we're living in, this new reality that we're trying to bring in and live and die by, it's from the heart. So what are your thoughts, Ron? I want to hear the accent.
Yeah, and definitely. And I think in many First Nations communities around the world, the first brain is actually the gut, the intuition. The second brain is the heart, and the lowest of all is the one that we have in the head. So maybe it's to come from that intuitive way of being, that unknown connection that we have. From there, flow from the heart. From there, our action comes. And this one up here is just to solve what needs to be solved when it comes up at that particular time. And I think from there, there's an easiness there, because then we trust in ourselves.
I couldn't have said it better. And I love that you brought up the word indigenous. Because yeah, this mind charade, that's all West. It's all, this patriarchal, society that we've been in for however many thousands of years. So I always like to say, like, we're kind of in the dark ages right now. Like, there's a lot of history and there's a lot of ways of being that were forgotten, or the books were burned, or, we just don't have it anymore. And yeah, thinking from your brain up here is one of those things. Like, it's not supposed to be like that. And when you are thinking with your gut and thinking with your heart, you realize that it's not just you. And then you can think as part of this organism that we're a part of. And that's where that separation fable kind of fades out, because it's like, oh, wait a second. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And you remember, Ade, when we first scheduled the show, on that particular day, things weren't aligning. And we kind of realized it's not going to happen. On that particular day, 3 or 4 things happened that weren't working, were just, okay, no, it's not happening today. And then with Ade something. And I think sometimes, when we don't force it, let's go with the flow of it. And it happens rather than us try to push it. And I think that comes from, as you said, the heart, the intuitive nature, rather than mind trying to push it. Like trying to fit a box into a circle.
Yeah, that's me. I think you and Siraaj were pretty relaxed. Oh, we'll do it, and if it doesn't work out, and I'm like behind the scenes trying to fit the square box in the round hole. So I'm still learning with that one. But I finally, at the very end, when Siraaj said, "Why don't we just do it another time?" and then I finally let go, and yeah.
But it was so funny. The whole time I was thinking, is this a test? Because like the podcast is supposed to be on the power of presence, and right now we're not with the moment. I think it was a test, and I think we all passed. So good for us. We're here now, and it couldn't be any. It couldn't be like. Sometimes you can't. Yeah, you can't plan for perfection, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah, I know this is going to be everything it needs to be right here, right now.
Yeah. Yeah, you talked about the harmony when you're connected to your intuition and you're sort of in tune with the community, the ancestors, and can you talk a little bit about how nature? I know we're nature, but the extended nature, the things in the natural world, how important is being out in nature and being in tune to nature? I already kind of know the answer, I think, but
yeah, you're hitting on one of my sweet spots.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was farming for like 2 years, and my relationship with that aspect of being that whole other world that we're right up against, you know what I mean? There's not even a veil, like for some of these spiritual worlds, there's like a veil and you gotta like do some work and clear your eyes. But like the natural world is this other entity that is us, that's right here. And I love that you have Holy Trinity behind you, Ade, because in part of my learning, it's human and nature and then the divine, and that is the Trinity. And so connecting with nature is one of the easiest ways. It's one of the easiest doors because it's right there to fall into the divine, to happen upon, for lack of a better word, God, It's right here. I can say that in my stillness and in my quietness and in just that communion, like I started, I thought I was tripping. Like there's a day I went out to a stream, after farming, and I got soil all on me. I'm like rinsing off in the stream. And I sat down and I was staring at these stones, like all of these stones in the riverbed. And of course, while I'm farming, I'm, digging up rocks all the time. So I call them baby boulders. They're my friends now. But I literally started seeing their faces and seeing their personalities. And it's like, oh, like if I truly believe that there's energy in every atom and every particle of matter, then why can't this stone, this thing that's been here for I can't even conceive how long it took for that stone to come up to the surface to be here with me right now. Like, it might have a face, and the things that it's seen, and the people who have rested here on these banks, and just the memories that could be in that part of nature. And that's just the stones. Don't get me started on like the birds and the worms and the soil itself, the intelligence, and like the whole other world that's in the soil.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest medicine, or I guess the best, most potent medicine that I got from working with the earth was just how like macro and micro, because like I said, the soil, it looks like this dead brown substance, but like no, there's life in there, and that life isn't any, like we're not any better than that life. If you go up from the soil and you look at like the grass and the flowers, like there's a whole highway going on there. You got the bees and you got the ants and you got all this stuff, and so it just keeps expanding, and all the way to the whole planet that we're on, like her and like her being, and how the blood and is the water, and we're kind of just these cells that are trying to help her to thrive. I think that's the medicine I got from nature.
Yeah, I feel some of that when I go out into nature too, and you're. I'm glad you talked about the faces, because I see that quite often with trees. I looked at a tree the other day and I thought, wow, I don't really know what a tree is. there's this, it just occurred to me that for some reason, like there's this living thing, like this is life. Like, as you were saying, this is life. And, yeah, that was really powerful. And then yesterday I was eating 3 strawberries, and 3. Yeah, because I was thinking about the Holy Trinity.
Okay. I love it.
And I thought of each of us as one of the strawberries. And and I looked at the, the little stem, and so it looked like a little face, with the leaves. And then I realized, this is this living thing, and then I ate it, and that was that.
I'll go sometimes.
Yeah. So trying to think of some things that many of us experience, especially now, but maybe I want your perspective on dealing with pain. What does pain like mean to you? What do you do when you feel it? I have so many things. Yeah, I think emotional. Yeah.
Emotional pain. What is it? You are coming with the hardball question. I thought we were just going to be like sipping tea and like coffee and just chatting. You're like, no.
No, I have you here, so I'm like, I'm just gonna. All of these questions are just coming up, and yeah.
No, bring it on. All these things that I think and feel, they're just theories. Like I could pull an answer from wherever they're coming from, but I don't claim any of this. Like, it's not mine. And so when you ask me like what pain is, it's like, oh, okay. I can go back to like the very beginning when I first started on this path, maybe 10 years ago, maybe like 12 years ago. And I was suffering from like the deepest depression. I was 18. I think I told you a little bit of the story, Ade. Like, I was 18. My best friend died in a car accident over spring break. I had never had anyone die before. And like my little perfect little bubble just like popped. And it's like, oh, this is the world I'm living in. Oh, this war. And oh, okay, I see. And, just, ooh. And I always liken it to being like in a cave at the bottom of the ocean. And then like eventually coming out of the cave, but then still having to swim all the way up. And just like going through that process of coming out of that, like that pain of realization of like where I am and like how separate I am from anything, or how separate I felt at that time from anything that was divine, from anything that was good, from anything that was like worth like having in life or like living for. It's like, where are we? What are we doing? And like just that existential like human, that crisis of like, where are we? What are we doing? How did we get here? Why are we here alone? That pain is the doorway to the answer to those questions, I think. And what I've learned is like that pain, everything is kind of like what's those things with the slingshot, So like how far you pull it back is like how far you can go ahead. So if you only pull it a bit, then like your rock is gonna drop. But like that pain can pull you in so deep. And then that equal and opposite force is going towards the light, and you can use it. You can use it for some really wild stuff. But like I said, it's just science though. Like all this is just science. I get all my theories, I like to say like sometimes like, science is my religion. Like, let's talk about quantum physics. Let's talk about entanglement, and all this brilliant stuff that again, is just like new words for ancient science, ancient knowledge, ancient arts, ancient everything. We're just kind of rediscovering. And then the West is like, oh my, eureka! We figured it out, guys. And everybody indigenous is over here like, okay, come on, tell me all about it. Tell me all about how every atom has life in it. Sure, yeah. I don't know. I hope that answered your question on pain. I don't know what it is, but I know that it is a catalyst to be able to feel what's on the opposite end of that, which is whatever that is. Whatever it is.
And one of the words you said that kind of piqued was the word separation. And I feel like, I mean, in that, Hafiz talks a lot about this in his poetry, about this feeling of separation, and how maybe that's the cause of some of our pain and suffering, as well as the motivation to come back within, or see, like, investigate what that is, what that separation is.
So you cut out in the middle of that, but what I just got was asking about separation.
Yeah.
What might it be? I mean, honestly, I think it's a really clever ploy by this divine intelligence. And it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to like fraction myself into all these tiny bits. Then I'm going to have all those tiny bits, forget that they came from me, and leave it up to them to solve it. And if they solve it, then oh my gosh, they reconnect and they join back. But if they don't, they just keep going until eventually they do, because that's the only thing. Like, that's all there is. Just, I don't even know. Like, I forgot in this metaphor, like, who I was, but you know what I mean? Like, in this metaphor, it's just like, oh yeah, all these parts are the same thing. And then if they separate, like the kids finding their way back to the mother, I think, that might be a quote from, Rumi or Hafiz. Like, when you recognize the children, you can find the mother, or something like this. Like, it's all similar, like very similar faces. Like, if there's a missing kid and they can't talk, you're like, okay, let's look at these features. Where did you come from? And that separation is just, like I said, a really intelligent ploy to get us to come back to center and come back home, go back home.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it seems like it happens on different levels, like even the emotions, even these things about ourselves that we may run away from, or we may judge. And I think that the thing in that is we think we know what these things are, and you kind of alluded to that in terms of the pain. What really is that? And so something may come up, and I may think I know it. I put some conceptual label on it, and then I think it's something else that I need to tend to, rather than this is me too. It's the same I. So I could get into the game of trying to fix different things within the self, but just realizing that, I mean, it's been my experience, just realizing that this is the same, whatever, like I'm running away from myself, basically.
Ooh, yeah. That's part of something I've been really working on. And I think at this point, you have all these lessons and you get tested, and maybe you pass, maybe you don't. But I think the lesson that's been really present for me lately is, not running away when I like get my heart broken, not running away in the face of like ignorance, not running away in the face of anything that agitates me, because it's super easy. Just a little snippet, Ron, like I've had this past experience. I was working for a company, and it's nature related. I'm doing beekeeping, right? And one day my manager asked me if he asked me to do a presentation on white privilege for everybody. And I mean, I laughed in his face, you know what I mean? But then I quit, you know what I mean? It's like, no, it's not my job. I don't even want to be part of that. And in retrospect, I'm wondering if that could have been a teachable moment. Like, if I wouldn't have gotten so agitated and I wouldn't have run away, like, could that have been an opportunity for me to dig into my compassion and find that trap door and find even more compassion and um, try to be medicine, you know, for people who are seeking. And then at the same time, it's kind of like, no, do your own work, dog. Like, I don't have anything for that. But yeah, it's something that I've been grappling with. Like, if I want to be this, so Siraj means light. It's my chosen name. My given name is Candace. But yeah, I chose Siraj because I want to be a light. I want to embody the essence of um, this energy that fills me when I'm open to being filled by and just surrendering. You know, I want to give more of that to people. And yeah, so lately I'm having to think about what that actually means. What does that mean to step fully into what I know that I have the potential to be? And oof, it's work. It's work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love how you pose the question, but don't answer it.
I think I live the answer. Like, it's not an answer that's going to come from another mind.
Yeah.
The way I choose to live.
Ron, jump in with any questions if.
Yeah, that last point, sometimes the questions, it can't be answered in that moment. And in that silence, when that question comes up, that's where you're going to go. And you don't know how, why, or where, but this non-answer is leading you somewhere. And I think that's quite beautiful. And Siraj, I love the metaphor of the slingshot back. And another teacher speaks of this as well. Do you think that sometimes the slingshot back is our personal things that we have gone through, but also generational? And the further we go back, maybe is the opportunity to clear. What's your thoughts on that?
Again, like going to science, like generational trauma is real, you know? The issues are in the tissue, I think is what they say. It's in your body. So yeah, I mean, imagining, so now I'm imagining like a slingshot with multiple rocks. So you got, you know, that thing that happened to your great 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 grandfather that was, you know, in him and, you know, got trapped in his body that got passed down to you. Like, what happens if you're able to take that rock out of the slingshot? And then, you know, you have all these other rocks. And then eventually you get to a place where it's just like, okay. But I don't even know if that any of that just made sense. But I think what I'm trying to say is this generational trauma that lives in everybody. And you're in the UK, like that's a whole different animal. So I can only speak for the United States. But here, I don't know, is it frozen? Can you guys see me?
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay. Yeah, here in the States, it's a beast because a lot of us here don't even realize that trauma. Like, sure, if you're African American, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's there. But our Caucasian American brothers and sisters, like, I think that their trauma might get swept under the rug because, like, oh no, we've been fine the whole time. It's like, no, you were treating human beings like they weren't human beings and pretending it was okay. Like, that hurt you somewhere for generations, and like, we're never going to heal. Like, and that's my thing here. It's like, it feels, sometimes I just want to go to a jungle somewhere and live out the rest of my life because nobody wants to admit to their trauma. Nobody wants to do that work. It's not easy. It's not just like going to a therapy session and you're cured. Like, years and years. And yeah, you have to keep your eyes wide open, but yeah, you're gonna have to go into the dark. And Ade will tell you, like, you're gonna have to die. Like, I'm so encouraging of people just like dying. You know, you have to die to be reborn into yourself. And I think that's something that women understand intuitively, because you know, we die every month. You know, our body regenerates and starts from new, and then it's springtime and summertime, you know, but we forget that these cycles within ourselves, or like within nature, like it's part of the whole medicine. It's part of like a roadmap to being, you know. It's not always summertime. It's not always fruit, you know. It's not always in the hot sun. That would be miserable. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll try living on an island, tropical island, and tell you how it feels. But there's these cycles that we have to honor, and when we can do that, and yeah, go into the dark, go into winter, and let it kind of scratch the surface, get some new seeds germinating. You know, those bloom, blossom. It's the fall time. You know, they kind of die, they fall off, and you say, okay, well, what's here now? You know, it's just
yeah.
a lot of work.
Yeah.
And that means that, you know, when you come from that way, that when we do that work, it's transformative in a scale that we can't even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
We can't even see. It's so much bigger than that. And I think even going on from that way, as in African and indigenous communities, we see the connections with our ancestors, and we can feel it. And it's something really powerful in that, really extraordinary, and at the same time really beautiful in looking at that, because immediately you're not alone. And you never were alone.
Right on. Can I say one of my favorite facts, guys? So the universe is 95% dark energy and dark matter. The other 5%, like, that's the things that we can see. It's everything tangible, like everything here and everything you can see through a telescope, you know, all the different planets and stars. That's only 5%. 95 of the other percent is here with us. We just aren't on the frequency to be able to perceive it. So when you talk about like our ancestors and, you know, all that stuff, yeah, it's like they're not like some far away thing. Like, they're here, like in this field. That's where, you know, all these, you know, people say, oh, I saw something, and like, yeah, maybe you were able to perceive like a different vibration that's here with us right now, but we're all living in this together. So yeah, our ancestors are right here. And our, you know, our guides and the angels and all these, you know, all of these different energetic beings, and all of these different, what do you even call all this? All these just different possibilities of manifestation. We're all on the same plane. It's all right here. So yeah, when you need help from an ancestor, when you need strength, that makes it even like, it's so easy just to be like, oh, okay, like, I feel you. It's not that you're just in my blood, or you're just in my past, you're just in my mind, you're just in these photographs. Like, no, it's like your energy is still here right now with me.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can speak to them, you know, so.
We love to be spoken to. Like, imagine just being around someone and knowing that they can't really, or I guess I should say, imagine you can't communicate with them unless they ask you to. So I just imagine my ancestors just like always around me when I have a problem, just like, Candace, just ask us, just ask, and you shall receive. And and that's the way it goes. Like, but the thing is, like, in this universe, like, willpower is a really big thing. You have to be open to wanting to be shown answers.
Mm.
You know, like we said earlier, you know, you have these questions that sometimes, yeah, you don't have the answer, but you can live the answer. But you have to be open to being shown. You know, you have to let go of control.
Mm.
You have to surrender, which is the biggest lesson I ever got. And once I did it, like alignment, manifestation, like beautiful people, soul tribe. And
Yeah.
it was all just me, like letting go of like thinking that I knew anything, because I don't know Jack, man. I don't know Jack.
Yeah, me either. I mean, a lot of what you're saying is connecting to that intuition, and one of the things that I think a lot of people have a hard time with, especially in the age of iPhones and social media and things of that nature, is we are always on some gadget. You know, we're kind of, I know you're probably not, but I think a lot of people aren't even having that chance to just take a moment. It's just this reaction of pick up the cell phone, you know. And I know that can't be good, and it seems like it's a distraction. And have you like sort of disconnected uh, from that? And what was that experience like?
I mean, I can still very much be in it for sure. Um, but even I feel like, especially, it may have been one of my resolutions just to go even deeper into it. You know, I have this old flip phone that I need, like, which I still come to, because it's like, who told me I need a smartphone? Who told me I have to be available 24/7? You know, if my boss wants to text me, like, you can send me an email and I'll be checking my emails at these hours and I'll get to you when I get to you. Like, I don't have to be available for anyone that often. And it is a distraction, you know, and it's a lot easier for people to, I mean, I've literally, you know, tried to have these conversations with people. And I remember someone telling me, like, oh, yeah, like, I know I have a soul. I just don't have time for that. And I'm like, you don't have time for your soul? Like, what does that mean? That's scary. That's terrifying. But I think that might be like it might be a more common thought than you might even know, because sure, you know, most of us, they grow up with some inkling of religion, but then you see the world and you're like, okay, now that's all, you know, bull stuff, and you hear everything going on in these churches, and it's just like, I'm gonna stay away from that. But then you can't deny, you know, those feelings you get when, you know, synchronicity happens, or miracles happen, or
Mm.
you know, there are little hints in your life that kind of break through that barrier, because like I said, it's all around us. It's all right here. The divine nature, that holy trinity of us and nature, and then, you know, the divine, like, there's no escaping it. But if you try to turn your back on it, sometimes it'll tap you on the shoulder. But I
Yeah.
think once it taps you on the shoulder and you have to turn around and like face this whole new reality, I don't even want to say it's a whole new reality, because it's the only reality. So you've
Mm.
been living in, you know, you've been facing a cave, and now you got all of this to take in. Or
Mm.
maybe you've been turned around for like 25, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. It's easier to distract yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just what it is. People take the easy way out if you let them. But like, have you guys heard of this meta stuff? Like, they're taking
Yeah.
it
It's
too far. Like, they're
crazy.
trying to go in the internet all day long.
Yeah, yeah. I think it may move in that direct. I think that's likely to happen to a certain extent. So
I mean, I know it is, because like
yeah.
it's oh goodness, don't even get me started. I don't even know what to say about that. But again, it's terrifying that people are so afraid of themselves. You're so afraid of yourself that you would rather like go buy Nike shoes online for your online avatar in your online house. And you know, I I don't know. I And that's kind of in the same line with in Silicon Valley, they're trying to put people's consciousness into
Mm-hmm.
machines. So it's like, oh, hey guys, you don't ever have to die. You can just like download your brain in here, and we got it. It's all good. And it's like, wait, like the universe had already figured that out. Like we were never dying in the first place. You're trying to get people trapped here, and you're trying to get them to think that like this is it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, after this world, oh, we got to save ourselves here because I don't want to rot in the ground. Like,
yeah.
who told you that like this body was it? You know, it's
That's a
sad.
great point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Wild, wild world.
What has what was the I don't know. What has love taught you? Yeah. What has love taught you?
Ooh. Really good question. What has love taught me? Love has taught me. Oh man, I don't even. Ron, what has love taught you? I want to hear more from you, Ron. Sorry for deflecting. No, that's a big question. I actually just need to like process that. I can't just like come up with something. Like
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny because I've had the experience of meditating and realizing like, oh shit, everything is unconditional love. Like the universe is made out of unconditional love. Like holy shit. And then I've had the experience of like meeting God and another human being, and having that be a mirror. And so I have one of these brains on the spectrum of like, magnificence, I call it. And it's like I saw this quote once, and it was saying how the highly creative mind, like for the creative mind, a stranger is a friend, and a friend is a lover, and a lover is someone you see God in, And I was always like, what does that mean? But then it happened, and like I feel like that experience of meeting another human being, and realizing that they were just a mirror for me, and already having realized that like what is in me is like I said, for lack of a better word, God. It only brought me closer to wanting to surrender and to wanting to not even be attached to the person, but just realizing like, oh, again, all these fragments of the same thing. And when you can see the other fragments and be like, oh, like that's that, and this is okay, and it's like you're in on a secret. And I was saying like it's people always say like, oh, like we're in love, or falling in love, or they just use like, oh, I love those shoes. Like that word, it means that it goes a little deeper, and then I think it's in Christianity, they say God is love, and it's like, wait, well, what does that mean? And then they say, oh, the kingdom of God is within you. It's like, oh, wait, what does that mean? And then you take all this stuff and you like dissect it, and it's like, oh yeah, like I am unconditional love. It is inside of me. That this kingdom is also like everywhere I can see it, and everyone else I'm relating to. Sometimes it's harder to see in some people than others, but yeah. So when you say like, what is love? Like, what has it taught you? I can just say it's taught me to like see more of that in everything and everyone.
Yeah. What I felt when you were talking about that, of seeing God in the other person, what I felt was just a relaxing. It was just like, it's just, it goes back to that sort of idea of separation, and I think with that separation comes some tension. It comes a little bit of sort of tension. I don't know. That's what I feel sometimes. And then when you see that it is, you see God in this other person, and it seems like everything just like, that's the feeling I got. The other thing, talking about love and the experience of it, for me, what I felt is it's something like the fear of death was always very big, oh no. But love is so much bigger. And then it's like, okay, I can die for this. This is what I'm willing to die for. Like that kind of giving yourself to it and just surrender into that, and just like, and not even I can. It's just like, here I am. Just this sort of jumping into that. And it like can feel like ripping you apart, but in a beautiful way, just kind of like chewing up every cell and every fiber of your being. And it's not even chewing it up, it's like in relation with it, like it kind of, you are it, and you just, yeah. Hafiz can do that sometimes.
Hafiz was a master, really.
Yeah.
I'm just like sitting with you saying, oh, love, like, oh, I'll die for this, just like that thought of like, oh yeah, this is worth dying for. I was afraid of dying, but now I know love, and now I know that love is dying.
Yeah.
Experience more love. That's beautiful.
It's like I was speaking to Ron the other day about there's this fear of death that came up, and he said, Ade, where does death take place? Doesn't death take place in life? And I said, yeah. And he said, doesn't birth take place in life? And I said, yes. And he said, do you know anything other than life? And I said, no. So it was really kind of, wow, that it goes back to the feeling I got when you talk about nature and your experience with nature, and how there's this sort of like soup of everything, the cells and atoms, and this like soup of energy. And life. Yeah, life. Not sure where I was going with that, but
Siraj, when you have the soil in your hands, and when we put it under a microscope, there's trillions of things going on inside there. And when Ade and you spoke of love, and you used the word entanglement, in our hand, in that soil, are connections that we can't see. How does that feel for you sometimes when you have the soil in your hands? And how does it feel sometimes just walking barefoot on the grass, in the soil? How does that feel?
Oh my gosh. It feels like an honor. It feels like an honor to, first of all, be able to perceive, just like, or to even like have my mobility and to be able-bodied. Like, I'm really grateful for that. And I remind myself that like it didn't have to be that way. Like, I can use my fingers to grab a fistful of soil and like put it to my nose and smell it and see the richness of it. And if I, typically like when I'm farming, like, and I pull like a radish out of the ground, like I'll like dust it off a little bit, but I'm not trying to get all that soil. Like, I want some of that in my body because, yeah, those trillions of life forms, like, I want some of that. They're friends, you know? I think it's almost weird to say, like, oh my God, I have such reverence for the soil. Because, like, for most people, soil is dirt, you know, they don't know the difference. But for me, like, soil is alive. Dirt is that stuff that, you know, they sucked all the nutrients out of it. There's no life forms there. It'll blow up in the wind if you let it, and that's that. Which, I don't know, I feel like I've never thought about it, but that could be like a metaphor for like something much deeper, you know? Maybe just like the types of life that you could be living. You're either living this rich, embodied life with all of this teeming inside of you, or you're this powdery substance that can get blown away with any breeze, you know? So when I'm like, my feet are in the soil, I'm feeling the coolness, grateful to be able to feel, and grateful to be able to walk, and grateful to be able to know that there's life there. Because like I said, we don't all get taught that. It's not something that they teach us in school. Like, okay, guys, that tree, that's alive. They're like, nope, that is a oak, and, you know, it gives us this, and that's what we use it for. You know, I was saying, like, oh, over the summer, I had this reckoning. I was reading, I think, Braiding Sweetgrass.
Okay.
And, hey, you have it? Are you reading right now?
No, do you know what? This is the third time today I've heard that book mentioned.
Third time today?
Third time today.
Oh,
so,
wow.
I'm just making a note as on the reading list. I gotta get it. Yeah. So,
definitely. Whoa. Talk about Trinity. There you go. Holy Trinity. 3. We got 3s everywhere, y'all. So in that book, she actually mentions that in like, there's an indigenous language that she grew up with, and in it, I think she says that, I want to say 70% of the words are verbs, as opposed to English, the language we all speak and grow up with, where 70% of the words are nouns, as in like, oh, this is a thing and that's a that, and, you know?
Yeah.
But it really, really changed my perspective, because if 70% of the words are verbs, then that means like, oh, that tree is an active living thing. That stream isn't something to be owned. It's alive. And, you know, it rocked my world, because the English language, like I said, it comes from this way of seeing the world that is based completely on separation. So I think if we want to change our mindsets and change where we're going with things, we have to remember that what we've been given isn't the all, you know? There's so many missing parts. And if we're not studying different cultures and different languages and different peoples, you know, if we're not studying anything other than what we've been taught, then we're doing a disservice to everything around us, the whole world around us.
Ade, that's, I think, one of the boxes that we have not mentioned in our conversation on boxes, the boxes of English language, which we are in. It's this huge box that we don't, it's like, you know, we're fish swimming in the sea who don't see the water. And the English language has boxed us into a way of seeing the world. And there's that click language, I think, of the San people of I think they're in South Africa, and it's the way they use them. It's totally different way of speaking and describing things, and this oneness with things. Where I think the English language, I think we have to be aware of when we're using it. The word is not the thing. I think maybe that's a box that we haven't given too much attention to. Siraj, Ade and I spoke about boxes that we live in sometimes, and that's where that conversation came from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, for me, the English language is one of the biggest ones. I've had ancestors in my dream tell me like, "Hey, you need to learn Spanish. Like, you need to. I need, I need something more because." And not saying that in any other language, like the divine or like any of these things would be. Well, actually, I am saying that would be easier to express because, yeah, a lot of cultures they have a deeper understanding, and the West came from the mind, and the mind is all about the physical world. So it makes sense that we're speaking this, scientific language based on things and X and Y and Z. But for us to be going towards a more spirited world, we need a more spirited language.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how are we going to be able to communicate these things? Like, I remember having like a kind of friendly debate, but I was trying to explain like the essence to someone, and it's like that Buddhist metaphor. Like, if you look at the finger pointing at the moon, then you miss the moon. So he was so focused on the words that I was saying that he couldn't see behind them. And in the end, we gave each other a hug and we're like, "I love you." You know what I mean? It was good, but still, like, there was so much friction and just not being able to get past the words. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a difficult area for me, especially my dad's a professor, so it was always about the words and luckily I'm not too skilled at the English language, but
Okay.
But it's funny when I'm sure I have sent you and Ron too many audios of these nature chants. But so when I'm out in nature and just kind of feeling what's coming up and wanting to communicate, so the chanting comes from this desire to communicate, and it always comes in this sort of chant. I'm just calling it chanting because I don't know what else to call it, but it's coming from the gut and the heart, and it's just these are the noises that come up, and it feels more of a natural communication for me. And what I notice is that other animals come closer. So the squirrels will come up on the tree and they kind of look. The geese, your best friends, kind of they come they come closer. They come like right up to me and they look. So birds, they'll come fly on a tree branch and look down. And so I do think that the vibration is heard when it's in a natural place and when it's coming from the soul. I don't know what else to call it, but I feel like when it comes from the soul, then rather than the head, which I think many times the English language can, I'm not saying all the time, it could come from the soul as well, but many times it comes from the head.
I like that you use the word guttural, and like the phrase like guttural reverberations of the heart. Like your heart is sending like a vibration to your gut, and the gut is sending it up and out, and you get these chants that are really, really powerful. And you become like what, Cinderella? Is that who it was? Or all the animals are like coming up to you. I'm like, oh my god. Oh my god. Because the thing is, like, they remember,
Yeah.
I feel like their connection, I don't know, it's up for debate. Like, there's some schools that say, the animals are living in this perpetual state of just unawareness. Or you could say, like, the animals are like so in tune with their ancestral instincts and like going back to like the original ancestor, just like knowing that they are the essence. So like, I'm not positive which one it is, but when you say that they're coming up to you when you're doing that, that kind of shows me that, yeah, like they know what's up. Like sometimes, when I would be walking barefoot in the woods, I'd see animals, then yeah, they wouldn't run away. And I think it's because, yeah, the energy that I'm bringing with me isn't of, oh, you're a thing. What are you? It's like, oh, hey, brother, what's up? You're having a good day out here. Nice. I'm in your neighborhood. Don't mind me. Just going about my way. I think they can tell. The animals can most positively tell when you're coming from a space of being spirited, and they remember when we used to sing and like talk to the trees and be embodied in that way. And so when they see humans that are like kind of going back to that, they're like, oh wait, my great grandfather squirrel, he passed down a story. Yeah, he used to go eat out of their hands, and they were super cool with each other.
Wow.
I'm scared of them, but yeah.
Yeah, that connection you just made is beautiful. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. That they have in their DNA somehow this memory of how they would relate with us, years ago, like maybe the indigenous people, the natives of this country.
Yeah.
It's like
we
wow.
said with us, like the issues are in the tissue.
Yeah.
So we're not special. They have all their issues in their tissues too, and like all their memory traumas and what was before the trauma,
And also I noticed when noticing, just being aware of an animal, but without calling it something, there's this connection. There's this like, it's the same that I get with kids, very similar. They're just like, oh, there's nothing that needs to be said. We don't have to put each other in some sort of box or category. It's just like, oh, it's this knowing,
Feel that. It took me a long time to get there with children, because I would always be like, oh my God, I can't sing. Like, what do I say? It's a kid. Like, what do I do? But it's like, oh, it's just like a little human. It's just like, like another little human. That it's funny because you would say like, oh yeah, they just don't know as much as me. It's a little human that doesn't know as much. But then it's like, wait a minute, it's a little human that maybe knows a little more in some ways. Not as much life experience, but yeah, there's some knowledge there. It's a really special thing.
Yeah. So for someone who, people out there who have had these awakenings and are kind of seeing outside of the, or seeing the program for what it is, and having these experiences, awakening experiences, what would you say to someone that, can you go back into the program, and what are ways to continue to stay in this surrendered space, or to, I don't know what the right word, but not go too far backwards, I guess. Not go back into the box, or the turtle putting on a new shell.
Yeah. I like to kind of joke with all my friends, but it's kind of also not really a joke. It's like, you know what? I'm just going to get a tattoo on my face, get a line across my face, so I'll never be accepted to another corporate job again. You know what I mean? I'll have to go down this other path of like energy healing and all this woo-woo stuff. Because like, yeah, the way that I think it's set up is, again, going back to like comfortability and like, oh, it's comfortable to not see and do your job that makes you money so you can buy the things that'll make you happy. Pretend that you don't see anything, keep your head down. It's convenient, it's easy, it's a good escape route. I'm sure there's like tons of hippies from like the 70s that ended up inheriting their father's company, and then boom, you're not a hippie anymore because you gotta you're paying a lot in taxes, and you own a company and all this stuff. But I think, I don't know if once you've like truly expanded, like I don't know if you can receive, like I don't know if that's the way that, yeah, it's not the way anything works. I'm thinking about like, yeah, if you like dig a hole, or I don't know, if you make some type of, if you cut out something, you can't add back to it. Like you can't enclose it again. It's
Yeah.
just there. And
Yeah.
it's either going to stay stagnant or it's going to grow some more. But I think that you can, maybe cover it up with some dirt and act
Yeah.
like it happened. But I don't know. Yeah, that's a question that I really don't know. Because like I said, I'm scared of like even myself doing it. Like I said, I need that tattoo on my face for insurance, so I don't so I don't go backwards. Just commit to it. How do I commit to living in my truth fully 100% and never ever ever going back? I don't know. Trusting that if I go on this path, that I'll be supported and held and taken care of. Yeah, for me, that I guess that's a better insurance policy than thinking my face, I guess.
Yeah, and it seems like it's really needed, because the structures, the way that we're living now, obviously is not working, and it seems like it's all coming apart, especially here in the West. So I think you are kind of ahead of the game because you're, I use the word kind of grounded in the world, like in the natural world, and you're like taking actions and doing these things that I think we're all gonna need to learn to do, so we're not so overly dependent on these other entities and the big corporations and living in the ways that we're living, which is not healthy. It's making all of us sick. It's not expansive. It's not considering nature, our family, the trees, our family animals, and everything else. And it's not community oriented. Usually power and domination, So I think that's also a good sort of motivating factor for me, kind of when I look at my kids and other generations to come. And as the native said, are we considering the 7 generations that are to come after? What was the best gift you ever got?
Huh. What is the best gift I ever got? I don't know, man.
It doesn't have to be a material thing, as you know.
Yeah. Okay, that kind of opens it up. Best gift. I honestly, I don't know. I can't think, because I'm one of those people that it's like I get happy when like I find a butterfly on the ground,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, thank you for me. Oh my God. So there's a lot of gifts. I don't know which one.
I think Ron has a question.
Yeah, I think you said today, Ade, some of the best gifts, they go on living. So they're not, you're given something and that's it. It continues and continues and continues. So I think, maybe the question really can't be answered in a definite box. Maybe it's more than that.
Yeah.
That's just a thought. Siraj, do you think that something in you always called you to this way of life that you're living now. And what do you think about the time before you were born? A question on reincarnation, maybe.
I can say I remember being in elementary school, and we all had our little desk pods, with the space in between for all our books. And the teacher says, "Okay, close your science book and open your social studies book to page 52." Like clockwork, everybody, like robots, everybody shuts it and puts it in and then gets it out. And I just stood there. I didn't do anything, and I was just watching everybody else do exactly what they were told to do. And I think that's like the first time I broke through the matrix. I was like, wait a second. How do I know that this isn't like a simulation? Like, how do I know that this is real? Because what I just witnessed wasn't free will. What I just witnessed was like a little weird. It was a little weird, But that's the way we're programmed. I think I have always been like marching to my own drum, and I still don't know where I'm going exactly. Like, I know that I'm headed this direction. I don't know where the destination is in that direction, but I know like that's where I'm going, and I'm leaving it open for detours, and I'm leaving it open for pit stops and all this stuff. But I think I have always kind of been like gearing up for just a life of, what do they call it, bushwhacking, where you're going down a path and you got your machete and you're just carving it out by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something you might be born with. And so before I was born, it's interesting because I asked my mother once, like, what, like, was I wanted? Like, did you guys like plan me? And she was like, yeah, no, we intended for you to come, into the world. We planned you. And for me, that kind of like, it made my heart sit easy. But then I'm thinking, like, when you have two people who are in love and like consciously want to bring another soul in the world, do you get a different caliber of soul that comes through, as opposed to like these two people who like kind of like each other, kind of don't, and like, whoops, not saying that like one soul is better, but just like the environment, like the vibrations that were around them, did that leave a space open for like a vibration that was like, okay, that's love, that's where I'm going, and that's how I want to be brought in, and that's what I want to be around. Yeah, I'm just really curious about how, even if it is a choice of where you want to be born and the lessons you want to get shown, I don't know. It's a really interesting question for me though. Like, how did I choose here? And like, I look at my life and it's like, yeah, the circumstances that I've been given, like, I'm sure if I had it any other way, I would have made it work. But like, it's been perfect for me and my journey and my soul and like what I needed, the medicine that I've gotten to be able to hopefully, yeah, kind of in this wheel of reincarnation. I'm not trying to come back here. Like, I don't want to come back. I'm trying to get gone. So, yeah, I pray every day that I just live long enough to be able to be of service and to be able to yeah, reach whatever it is that needs to be reached, so that I can, like, on that last breath, really just be like, oh, okay, I'm done, I'm gone. Not like, oh, there's still something I had to do. Oh.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be able to die. Like, it's weird to say, but I'm excited to die. I don't want it to happen like anytime soon, but I'm excited for all that in between, and like the opportunities that I have to be able to make it worth it, like to deserve to die, to deserve to die a good death and be completely at ease. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Ade, and your question goes on to your wonderful quote today about a gift. Can you say it again, please? Because I was just looking for it today.
Oh, I don't even
About
remember.
the gift. Find it.
Yeah,
And it was
the Hafiz poem.
huh?
This is the Hafiz poem.
Was it the Hafiz? No,
it was
there's something that just came to me.
Oh yes, I got it, Ade. I got it here. So it comes from this question which you just posed, and you said, "Life is a gift. Gift yourself to life." And I think that really kind of brings about the answer to the question that you pose, and also, being a soul and being wanted in this. And coming here with a kind of maybe a mission, a purpose, a passion, and coming into this world, and maybe that's the kind of ultimate gifts. I'm sure we can enjoy smaller gifts on the sideline. I've got a fellow Kute greatest hits, which is a wonderful gift, which I'll never forget. But these other little gifts, this great gift, I think from there. There's this exploration. What's happening? It's so many extraordinary things are happening. Coincidences, synchronicities, chance meetings. The song, the book that someone mentions to you twice, and now you got to go out and get, and then you're gonna tell a friend about it, who will tell another friend about it, and I'm gonna meet someone else who meets someone else. Is that being the kind of the alchemist in life? And it makes then, I think, even the little moments quite extraordinary.
I love how you summed all that up. Yeah, that quote was perfect. Gift yourself. Life is a gift. Gift yourself to life. Yeah, what an honor.
Yeah. I think that came from a place of being out in nature, noticing that just all of life is a gift, and the trees aren't. They are gifting life to us, and they're not really asking anything in return. It's like it's just this gift that keeps on giving. But as I think I think for me, like the realization came like as a creative person, I would share things, and there was this subtle shift recently. I would share things and then wonder what people were going to think, wonder how it's going to be received. And then I realized recently that it's a gift. It's a gift. I'm just sharing this gift, and that's it. I don't have to do, that's where it kind of ends. For me, for my part, it's just like the tree is giving what it gives. And so, kind of almost like a gift, living, doing what I do as a gift to God.
Give to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Siraaj, what have you learnt from bees?
Ooh, the bees, my girls. Yeah, they're amazing. Okay, number one, like whenever I mention like, oh yeah, I was doing beekeeping, everybody's always like, oh, I could never do that. I could never. And it's like, yeah, you could. Like it's that fear that you're told to have when you think of the word bee. Like somebody programmed that in you, and maybe there was a time where you had like an ice cream cone or something sugary, and they were like, oh, like let me buzz around her, see what this is. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think most of us know by now, like once they sting you, they die. So it's like they don't want to sting you. If they do have to sting you, it's probably because you like threatened them first, or because you encroached upon their territory, you know, that you were like too close to their hive or whatever. But I think, I don't know, there's so many interesting things about the bees, but I think it can all go back to like what I said about the soil. It's just like, yeah, sure, it's a bunch of individual parts, but the actual hive itself, like that's an organism in itself. And you have all these little parts that make it happen, but it's one entity. And just, I don't know, one of the most interesting facts, I don't know, this is like, I don't know, a feminist streak in me. Like, so the queen, like when you have like a young queen, she will leave and go out for like a few days and mate with all these drones. Drones are the male bees, and their only purpose in life is to impregnate queens to get their genes, you know, to perpetuate their genes. So then she comes back to her hive, starts laying eggs. She has like sperm sacs, so she just saves it all and then lays the eggs. And then the eggs that she chooses to fertilize, those become female bees. And those are the workers, and that's who does all the work. And then the eggs that she lays that aren't fertilized, those are the drones. And the drones are just clones of her that then go out to impregnate the other female queen bee somewhere else. And it's just like, what? What? She just clones herself so that she can perpetuate, like,
Wow.
craziest thing I've ever heard of. But yeah, just that intelligence, and it's, I don't know. Like, it still trips me out.
Wow.
Still trips me out.
And are you like really up close to the bees? I take it that you wear one of those suits and do all that stuff. And
yeah, I mean, you're right up in there. You have to be like, I think the job of a beekeeper isn't necessarily keeping the bees. Like, the bees are keeping themselves. Like, they're good. The job of a beekeeper is just to make sure that the things that we are doing, like the pesticides and all these opportunities for new disease, all these things that we've created, aren't interfering with their work and what they already know how to do, which is, you know, help pollinate the world for us. So yeah, it's more of just like being a chaperone, I think, you know?
Yeah.
Like making sure nobody spikes the punch bowl.
Have you gotten stung?
Oh my God. Yes. I got stung in the forehead once, and I just had this knot. And I was like, oh, okay, it's kind of like Botox, right? It's like Botox. It's fine. But yeah, and again, like every single time that I got stung, I mean, I'll say that it was my fault. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a bee being aggressive. It was, okay, I'm like around their area. In that one particular instance, I was wearing a hat, and I was walking and she was flying, and she ran into the bill of my hat and ricocheted off my forehead and just stung me, you know, because she got scared and she was like, oh God, what is this? And I got stung. And yeah, like I said, every single time I got stung, it's been my own doing. They're not going out and trying to attack you. And I think that's, I don't know, it's something about, I can say maybe our culture as humans, we don't like to think that other animals have the same intelligence as us. I mean, and it's not the same intelligence. And sometimes I think it's a higher intelligence. But for whatever reason, we like to think that, yeah, there's this trinity or this pyramid, and we're at the top and the circle, and all these other animals, like, they know exactly what they're doing. They can communicate with each other. And maybe it's not through a language that makes sense to us. Like, let's get into telepathy. You know what I mean? That's a language. And I think it's what blue whales, they can, if one of them is like caught up in a net in this part of the ocean, they can like send mental pictures, like telepathic thoughts to the other whales, telling them like, hey, don't come over here because some shit is going down, you know? And we still haven't, like, science is still kind of skeptical of that type of stuff. We're still trying to prove it, and I'll be happy when they can stop, or like when we can all just stop looking for the whys or hows and just let things be, and like really study, like, okay, no, we don't have to prove how or like why or what, but like, okay, this is a thing, and what does that mean? What does that mean for us?
Yeah, you bring up a great point, because we're always trying to figure everything out, figure out how does this work? And if we can't figure it out, then a lot of times we'll say, well, it's not real, it doesn't work, but we're still trying to figure it out. Once we figure it out, then we'll let you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I don't need some guy in a lab coat who's never gone into the solitude of his own heart trying to tell me what my experience is when I'm sitting here communing with this 95% of dark matter that's all around me, you know?
Yeah.
I'm at the point, in my life, like, I don't need validation of like a science, a Western science that literally doesn't understand the reality that I'm living in. You know, when I started messing with, my Kundalini energy, like, there was a point where I thought I was going crazy because I was literally in a different reality. Like, you break through and it's like, where am I? What is going on here? Like, none of this makes sense. And then after that, you kind of just get filled with euphoria, and it's like, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but also this is pretty fucking amazing, and it's just like all love and all these levels. But yeah, that kind of goes back to me saying, like, yeah, I'm totally supportive of, like, that the winter of life and death and going through this period where, you might think you're going fucking insane, and that's because the world we're living in is insane. So once you get on the other side of that, then you find peace. That's word I got.
Yeah. You're what I got from what you said is sort of having a direct experience with life, and I mean, you've once told me I shared something, and you said, you just sound like you're repeating something you heard or that you read in a book.
Yeah,
and I thought, at first I was like, no, and then I had a tiny bit enough humility to kind of question myself and thought, so I realized I wasn't having a direct experience with what was going on, and it was just this story that was, that I'd been running this program over and over and over. And so just having that experience with it, with what I thought was bad, or what I thought I needed to get away from, this pain, this unknown, this thing which is me, which I didn't know what it was, which was really a mystery. And it was through that door that on the other side was love, and then realizing once on the other side that love was all there is. There's nothing else, so yeah. So it's I wonder if the scientists, if they it should, I would think it should be maybe not required, but it could be beneficial if our scientists could find a way to have to go within, to touch on that, and then do the work from that place.
It would be beneficial. I don't know how likely, but beneficial for sure.
Yeah.
There's actually, I don't want to say the name of the project because I don't want to like shout them out like that, but there's this group in Florida that's trying to basically create the new world that's going to happen after society collapses, you know what I mean? Or just trying to set that up. And I was really interested initially, Because yeah, I want to like, okay, we can all agree that the West is collapsing right before our eyes. Like, what's next? How do we start working towards that?
Yeah.
And so I was looking into this project, and I looked at their board of directors. It was all like old white men. Not that old white man can't be enlightened, but for me, it's just this thought of like, oh, like you're. It feels like going backwards in a really weird way. It's like, oh, we're gonna create the future, but it's gonna look like us. And I wrote to them, and I was like, so you're trying to make it so that, okay, the technology performs all of the jobs, so humans then have time to enrich themselves and like, live lives that have meaning, deeper meaning. And you're talking about creating new languages to represent a new consciousness. But like, have you looked into some of the dying indigenous languages that have like words, like 50 different words for like rain or something like that? You know what I mean? Like, where are you sourcing your these new blueprints from? Like, where are you getting this? Because I don't trust it. You know what I mean? I don't trust people who are coming from a culture that knows nothing but cerebral feeling and thinking and relating to the world. Like, where are the people of the soil who have this, who just feel it deeper? Like someone like I remember I was explaining to someone like the reason that like for me it's like the reason like people of color like can dance like with no issue at all is because like that vibration of the essence of the ecstaticism of life, like, it's in me, and I can feel it every single fucking day. And so when I dance, like, that's what's coming out. And yeah, I don't trust a culture that can't feel that all the time. Because if you're not feeling that ecstaticism, like, what are you feeling? Where are you coming from? Like, where are you? Yeah, and then it goes back to like maybe you're just talking about a program, like there's something that you read and this is the way that you think it's supposed to be, so that's what you're doing, but that's not how we move forward. Move forward.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to certain cultures to also recognize their trauma, their ancestral trauma, the European-based trauma as well, and kind of get in touch with that and let that authentic expression come and from the gut, from the heart, and not from the head so much.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, we're all just dealing with so much trauma, and yeah, there's just like a lot of broken hearts walking around.
Yeah.
Everybody else's heart is broken, so it's like, oh, it's not that bad. Everybody else's heart is broken too, so like this is just the norm. But like, no, it's not the norm. You're supposed to be, kind of like you said, just that other side of the door where it's love, and then everything is. You realize that that's all there is.
Yeah,
that's the norm. That's the norm. Communing with nature and talking to squirrel friends and geese friends. That's the norm.
So, what is your? I know you didn't really go too much into it, and I don't know if you feel comfortable with it, but your sort of vision for what you're creating, what you are trying to call in, which is happening, but what does the world look like to you? Like, in the going forward.
Yeah. So I used to always resent when people would be like, oh yeah, the world it's pretty wild, it's pretty crazy out here, but I'm just gonna like take care of myself and my family, and that's all I'm gonna worry about. And like there's still an aspect of that where it's like no, we all gotta do a little bit more. And but I used to carry this weight on my shoulders of like, oh my God, I gotta put on this cape, and like I gotta save the world, and I gotta run myself into the ground and like exploit my trauma almost, or I have to use this trauma as like a fuel, and at the end of the day just like everything is burnt out, and I have to like fight for the soil. I have, you know, ancestors that have died for the soil and this flag, and like I need to be here, and I need to like continue that mission of just helping people do whatever. And I don't feel that so much anymore, and it's kind of like a mix between the two now. It's like I always like to quote a really great man once said, I'm starting with the man in the mirror, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, that's really good medicine. So it's like, okay, me working on myself, and then after I work on myself, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, all these things, then what's next? It's not just like, oh, okay, I'm good now. It's like, no, I have a community, and how do we make the community better spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically? You know, and that's kind of why I got into farming, because pandemic happened, and it's like, you know, sure, wear a mask and stay 6 feet away, but like, what about like putting the right things into your body and like building your immune system, and you know, not eating poison, not, you know, drinking water. Like nobody's drinking water. Everybody's brain is dehydrated in this country. You know what I mean? Like you can't think right when you're not getting the right nutrients. You can't think right when, you know, you have stagnant water in you. It makes sense that nothing makes sense, because yeah, that's just the lives we're living. So, I mean, for me, like I just want to be able to, again, be a lamp, be a light for anybody who is interested in like taking that other path, getting off that paved road, and seeing like what else is there. And like a really big something that I always try to like instill in people is like, we vote with our dollars, you know? And so yeah, we can all sit up here and complain like, oh my God, he's a quadruple billionaire, whatever. But oh, I need this shipment in 2 days, so like I'm gonna order. It's like, no, you're either you're either against it or you're for it, and there's no in between. So it's like, are you gonna stand up for your values? Are we gonna, can we do that? Can we all collectively agree to not line, you know, the pockets of people who are in charge and treating the world terribly? Like it's been put a lot on us, like, oh, if we just recycle and if we just, you know, shop secondhand, everything will be all right. But we can, I think collectively, us normal people, we can like let some of that off of our hearts and still do the work to like make things better in a community. But like, we're not the ones who trash the world, and like we are doing it by like encouraging, like adopting these behaviors. But it's really simple to just, you know, maybe don't, you know, like kind of like figure out what it is in you that feels like you need to buy all these things, or care about like what's going on online, or, you know, care about anything other than like being a better person or being of service or trying to make the world a better place. You know, if what you're doing doesn't contribute to seeing your grandkids and your great grandkids live a good life, then like, what are you doing here? What are you doing? Go home. Just leave. Just go. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just trying to do what I can.
Yeah. Yeah, those are some tough questions to you know, I to ask oneself, you know, what is the reason you're doing this, and then to take some action, you know, to align with your values. I've been ordering so many.
Much to ask, though. Yeah.
I've been ordering so many Amazon packages. And sometimes when I order them, I think of you, because I know that you make it a point to like not only order from different like businesses that you feel are appropriate to order that kind of align with your value, but also the container that the package is in and all of this stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I have so much work to do. And I think it begins with sort of making a decision to look at things clearly. Like you said, I can be hypocritical and say, well, Jeff Bezos is, he has so much money. Look what he's doing to the environment. And if I say that, how can I turn and order something? It just doesn't make any sense.
Cognitive dissonance is a real thing.
Yeah. So I got to look at that one. maybe next month.
All in baby steps. It's all in baby steps.
Yeah.
But you know, like another thing for me is like the plastic. Everybody, plastic is ruining the world, and like you watch these documentaries and like it's all in the ocean and the animals are eating and we're eating animals and it's crazy. But then you go in like any standard bathroom and every single bottle is in a plastic bottle. It's like, I know they make shampoo bars and they make shampoo in bars now. You know what I mean? There's solutions. You might have to seek them out because they're not going to be in the main aisle of whatever large store you go to, but there are alternatives and there are different ways to live and there are different ways to be. Like plastic, it's only been around since, I don't know, it hasn't been that long. You know what I mean? Like humans were living a pretty cool life before we had the stuff that just doesn't disintegrate.
Yeah.
And like, what does it look like to like try to lessen that in your life? Try to lessen your footprint, and like, what does it look like to spend the money that you were going to spend on X and like maybe donate it to a cause or donate your time or donate your energy? Like when all those protests were going, like one guy who was in the White House, it's like I felt like all that energy could have been used to do so much good. And like I said, it all goes back to science. If you have this one force opposing this other force, all that does is cause friction.
Yeah.
But what if these people that believe in good and believe in human rights and human decency, what if instead of like taking a couple days off to go march on Washington, what if we all took a couple days off and like volunteered at our favorite organization, to help them? Millions of people taking days off to volunteer and make the world a better place. Like, what? That's crazy. It's unheard of. But it would be so easy. It's so simple. We would just rather have the friction for whatever reason.
It seems that this living from this friction, this sort of polarity-based way of living, seems to be a way that we've somehow adapted, and maybe there was some justification for these ways and at some point in the evolution, but it seems like we've gotten locked into that, and we kind of you explained it so well, that the two entities, scientifically, two opposing forces going at each other, causing this friction. Nothing really good is going to come from it. And, you have the Democrats, the Republican. One side says something, the other side argues, and we just get more and more of the same. And what if that energy was put towards, I'm just not going to deal, I'm not going to waste energy here and, put energy into something that is bears fruit, something that we can take actions, we can all get together and plant crops, we could build homes. There's so many things that we can do because we have skills. Certain people have carpentry skills. We could get together, teach each other. Like there shouldn't be people without homes. We could say, hey, like these people should have a place to live. Let's get together. Instead of all of us getting together and arguing with each other, we can, little by little make things better.
And it's funny to think like, oh, I'm really upset about something. Let me go buy a marker and a poster so I can make sure somebody else knows. Like, no, don't go buy a poster and a marker. Go,
Yeah.
go figure it out.
Yeah, plastic marker.
I love how you do that. Yeah.
Wasting paper.
That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah. No, but I love how you put put your energy into like bearing fruit.
Yeah.
Because that fruit has seeds and those seeds are going to grow new fruit, you know?
Ron, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just like the idea of a new way of protest, because I think the old way has been done and tried and it's failed a lot of times. So, and I think Gandhi did, when he went on a national strike, he didn't call it a strike. He called it a day of fasting and collecting salt. So something came from it. It wasn't something against. It was a movement for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe the new way, if you want to, what about what you like what Siraj said, if rather than going and in doing 10,000 people walking the street, those 10,000 people created a garden on that particular day.
Oh my God.
What happened if 10,000 people fasted, which means they bought nothing for that particular day? That would hit, I think, the system harder than it would be the marching.
Yeah.
And what about even the not a one day, a week of a general fast, a week of a general let's look after ourselves with only fruits and vegetables? That will send waves through every system, and it will be a signal that it's a new dawn, it's a new way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Let's go what we want, not fight against, not go with what we want against. So the energy is always on what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it even if one person steps away from it, like Siraj has, like you have, Ron, and living your life in this way influences people. I mean, it's influenced me and the way that, I'm still learning, but it's influencing the way that I live, and hopefully I'm able to, influence someone else. So if we do it, I mean, because it's really simple. Some of the things that you talk about is really practical, really simple, but they sound so profound. Like, oh my, how we plant something and then wait for it to grow and pick it and eat it. It seems like, oh my gosh, what YouTube video can I watch to figure out how to do that? And I like all these reasons why it can't work. Well, I have to have this. As we had a guest, Sila, who, I was telling him he's a Rasta, and he's all about growing his own food and doing things like that. So I said, yeah, we should. People shouldn't be living in projects, and we should be able to give them homes and teach people how to be self-sufficient and live a self-sustainable lifestyle and grow crops. And what he said was, no, like you're putting these sort of limits right there that you have to wait to get to this place to do it. And he would say you could get a little pot and just put it right now, put it in your window, plant a seed. And so you can do it right now. You can plant things right now, It's the little baby steps.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And I love just that metaphor of not just planting a seed for food right now. You can plant a seed for a movement right now. You can plant a seed for a whole system change right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't have to wait. You can do it. Do it.
And that's really exciting, because then we have what we're having right now in these discussions and communications, and in our daily life now, we can go on and talk radical consciousness as a daily conversation. Let's talk entanglement while we're at the supermarkets. You know, it's an everyday conversation because we know this is, I think, who we really are. Because when you speak to young children, especially, they talk about traveling to different universes. They talk about flying and doing extraordinary things. They talk about they were talking to their cats. You know, it's just an actual thing. And maybe that's inherent in all of us, but we just lost it from the baggage of society or supposedly doing so. And if one person, it has to affect everyone else. So you farming has to affect whoever sees you, hears you, and maybe even be beyond seeing and hearing in the unknown realms of connectivity. And that's quite, really tingling excitement, is it, to go there, I think.
It's beautiful. Like I said before, it's like an honor to be conscious enough to infuse consciousness into other things. What even is this world? What are we doing? Yeah. We're all the same person, the same thing, just trying to perpetuate knowledge of that self, of that thing that we are, which is just light and love and joy, these higher vibrations.
Yeah.
I got one question that just came up. What's the most, one of the lessons that you've learned from the queen bee?
I think the biggest lesson I learned from the queen bee is that she's working for everybody else. She's in service. And if the worker bees don't like her, they'll kill her and kick her out. She's on. So it's not like, oh, I'm the queen bee, everybody come serve me. it's like, no, I'm a queen bee. I'm out here working. Like, can y'all towel me off if I get too hot, but also yeah, let me lay these eggs so we can have this healthy hive. Let me do this so we can be all right. And that's honestly it's part of the reason why I kind of am in between my birth name and Siraj, because Siraj is a lamp, but Candace, the meaning of it, the Candaces were a group of ancient warrior queens from Ethiopia, and the queen mothers was their name, right? And I just always remember thinking that's a lot of energy to hold. I don't know if I can hold that, because I do believe that in your name, that vibration and the essence of that name, it has an imprint on you. So I was just I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I can this queen mother, I didn't want it. I didn't want it. And now as I get older, I'm no, I am a warrior, and I am a woman isn't afraid to stand up for things, and I'm not afraid to put myself in harm's way, because what even is harm, when I'm not afraid of dying, you can't kill my soul, you can't kill my energy, you can't kill my fire. So yeah, how do I speak up for the people? How do I speak up for the things and I say things just because I'm trying to get out of the habit of calling living beings, I don't know, not recognizing they're living. So things wasn't even the word, but I don't only mean people when I say, how do I speak up for the things that don't have voices, the people, the folks, the living beings? How do I speak for the beings? Yeah, that's the word. The beings that don't have voices. So yeah, the trees, all the animals that are living under the surface of the ocean that we're just throwing trash into. How do you speak up for those? Yeah, I want to use this warrior power that I've been granted with.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out how still.
This conversation's been so wonderful, and it's just really amazing that we're even having this conversation. about these things, and that we're putting these ideas into action as well, and that it gives me hope that this is also taking place in other places. Obviously we're not the only ones. And so I think my hope is that this is spreading. What do you think?
Spreading. I mean, the only reason we're able to do this and like have a platform for it is because it's spreading. And going back again to the micro and macro, like we're all the same thing, and there's a field that connects all of us. And that kind of goes back to, again, like you can get into like the more ethereal sciences, like for me, telepathy is explained by quantum physics, you know what I mean? And Nikola Tesla, he's my favorite person. He has this quote, and it's like one of the quotes that really got me going down on this path. So like, yeah, this scientist who a lot of people don't even know who he is. Like they know the name Tesla because of the cars, but like, no, the man who invented the technology, the man who like invented the capacity for like the electricity that we have today, the man who invented that, the man who invented like, radio, who discovered all these frequencies, like his quote that got me really, really thinking about the universe was, if you want to understand the universe, you have to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And that's it. And that's all of the answers that you ever need for anything are right there. So when we're talking about, opposing forces, we're talking about energy going in a different direction. When we're talking about like being able to communicate in ways that aren't verbal, we're talking about frequencies,
Yeah.
And when we're talking about, it's all that. When we're talking about feeling depressed or down, we're talking about like a lower vibration. It's all that. And also when we're talking about healing our planet, we're talking about us all shifting ourselves, because again, we're one entity. The earth is one body, and yeah, we need to be able to shift enough of us so that the collective vibration can be at a place that's healing and is inviting in good energy.
Yeah. Ron seems like he was gonna explode when you said the word Tesla, so I'm gonna let him chime in.
Do you know what? We just love these coincidences and these chance sayings and things, because the reason the show is today is because we picked it numerology for numerology. So the 1 and 5 equals 6. And Tesla said, to understand the mystery of 3, 6, and 9, you understand the mysteries of the universe. And when these things come up, I just feel this burst of, wow,
I'm right there with
the
you.
book you mentioned before, and just this, and it brings this kind of magic, and I love it. When these little things come up, really do. I really do.
That's a whole other podcast, but yes, the magic is there. It's there.
Yeah, and that's where the Holy Trinity came. The idea for that came from a conversation with Ron about the 369 and Tesla, and
I love it. Get out of here.
And the Holy Trinity, because I said, Ron, we should call this was sometime like weeks ago, we should call this podcast with Siraaj the Holy Trinity. And I said it came up. I was listening to. Have you ever heard the song by Morgan Heritage? You don't have to dread to be Rasta. You don't have to dread to be Rasta. This is not a dreadlock thing.
This is not a dreadlock thing. It is conceptions of the heart.
Divine conception of the heart. So at the beginning of that, he talked about Haile Selassie, who he said is the power of I think I wrote it down somewhere. I don't want to misquote him. He said, Emperor Haile Selassie, he is the power of the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Spirit in flesh. So that kind of led to the conversation with Ron. As soon as I said Holy Trinity, then he said the number 6 and went into like breaking down 6. You explain, you would do it better, but the S turned the other way is 2, right? Well, no, the IX is the numeral for 9, right? Yeah, you explain it.
Yeah, I can't remember that. Yeah, so I can't remember. We had this conversation. We didn't write it down, but it was just.
Oh no, I wrote it down.
Oh, you wrote it down?
Yeah, it's here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, and and I think when you look at it just on an energy level and start thinking energy in what we ingest in our bodies and also what we ingest in our minds, and talk and relate on energetic levels, that is transformative of a level that I don't think we can even comprehend. So to have, I think, these conversations, and when I think somebody does something with passion, so if I hear a poem from Ade, or I won't embarrass you and say it, but I read a script from Ade recently, and I love this script. And when you've read and you do things and you from people who love what they're doing, and Siraj, you talk about the soil, you talk about the bees, it has to affect all those who are aware of it. It has to, because ultimately there's only one. And you said it with this entanglement as well. And I think that's kind of, and you mentioned it even just by the smaller things. You feel it when you walk bare feet on the grass, on the ground. You're connected, aren't we? And there's little things, that tiny things that we can do can make huge changes.
Yeah, because I think people get, when you try to only go for the big things, like, oh, we need to bring this corporation down. That's a really big, what is it? It's like Goliath, It's David and Goliath. Like, it's a lot to try to take that down. So like, yeah, how do I start with myself and start with the area around me? Which, like I said, at one point I thought was like super selfish to just like only focus on yourself and your surrounding area. But it's like, no, if we all work on ourselves first and then work on like our everybody under our roof and everybody in our block, everybody in our zip code, that's how we can do it.
Yeah.
But again, it really does start with everybody working on themselves first, which is the hardest part. It's the biggest hurdle, but then once you do it, everything else just flows. It flows so easily once you just get rid of all the blockages that are in yourself.
Yeah.
That's
and I think there's support out there, so we don't have to. There's things that can assist us in this this inner work, and even just holding space for someone. That's one of the things I'm really grateful for. Is just friends that would just hold space. I could say whatever. I don't have to sound articulate, or I could be just share whatever's coming up. Doesn't have to be right or anything. Doesn't have to necessarily make sense, and just have it come up, and then have someone say, well, have you looked at in this other way? Maybe question this. Maybe let's go into it together, and just. I mean, that's amazing. That's one of the things I think we're lacking in our culture, is there's so much debate, so much just fighting with each other. And if you have views that the other person doesn't agree with, then, you just call them names and kind of put them in this box. And rather than listening and being open and having open discussion and things of this nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a huge part of my journey was, looking at those people that like might hate me or like have super different opinions about just like human rights, like having compassion for them, not compassion as far as like, I want to go hug them and, make them dinner, but compassion of as far as saying like, oh, that's somebody who's brokenhearted. Like that's somebody who's hurt. Hurt people. And if you can't recognize the humanity in someone else, then that means that you probably have some issues with your own humanity and like what you might, deserve and be worthy of, which is, the same unconditional love that everyone is worthy of, and that same is a right to live a life that's life as it's intended, which is just to be here and to thrive and to learn all these lessons. Yeah.
So we are at about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Wow.
What?
Yeah. Siraaj, you froze, but I think you.
I'm coming in choppy now. But yeah. I just before I get cut off. Thank you for having this space to just speak openly and freely about just the things that are like in the heart, on the mind.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Siraaj. It was a pleasure as always, and I'm always learning from our conversations, and just being in your presence. Sometimes it feels like, oh man, I have so much more work to do, but it's good. It's good that it kind of shows me these areas that I may justify and kind of say, well, kind of like not look at and find some way to justify, to stay in some comfort zone. But what you show, what you demonstrate in your life is that you can be that, you can do that, and there's no excuses. You can jump off the ledge. And so thank you for that.
Thank you, Siraaj. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, to speak with you, and thank you very much. And Ade, thank you for the introduction, Ade.
Thank you, and thank you, Ron. As always a pleasure. And before we go, I just wanted to play something. This is a poem I wrote that I had a friend sing and another friend put music. And since this is on our new Coffee Diaries Facebook page, I figured I'll end with playing this. It will be the first time anyone has heard this.
As we propel ourselves out of this stage of reality, out of this polarity, out of this aggression, out of this confinement, out of this division and collision, out of this, and into this place of love. This love where we are bringing down the energy from above and bringing up the energy from below and meeting in the middle. This place of, I don't know, this place on the edge of the event horizon. Hold my hand as we jump into the cosmic horizon, as we grow new wings and learn to fly. We've created a world where we live in harmony. Envision our new world. We are living in communities, building our homes together in the heart, growing crops together, planting the seeds in our soul, as our children and our children's children harvest new food for the soul, birthed from love, compassion, and harmony, back to what is natural, nature.
Okay, so that was the sort of a work in progress. There's more that goes with that, but I thought it would be timely with having our guest Siraj here, who I think embodies a lot of what is in that poem, and I think also what we do here at the Coffee Diaries. I think this is what it's about as well. So thank you everyone for all the new people coming to this site and becoming a part of this community. Please also leave comments in the comment section, start discussions, and feel free to message and contact and share.
Thank you very much. And we're still learning.